Hey everyone, ready to unlock some seriously cool communication secrets.
Ooh, secrets. I'm in.
Today we're diving deep into those subtle, everyday phrases that can really make or break a conversation. You know, the kind I mean.
Oh, yeah, totally. Those little things we often don't even think about, but they can make a huge difference in how we come across, right?
Exactly. It's like having a secret code to unlock better connections and opportunities.
I like that a secret code. It makes it sound kind of exciting.
Right. So to help us crack this code, we're taking a deep dive into a podcast episode all about mastering everyday dialogues for young professionals.
Okay, sounds good. What kind of stuff do they cover?
Well, they've got these super realistic workplace conversations that we can dissect and analyze.
Sure.
They start us off with a morning at the office scenario. It features Alex and Jamie. They're just having a quick chat about a report.
A report! Sounds a bit mundane.
I know, right? But that's where the magic often hides, in those everyday interactions.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What happens in this report conversation?
Well, what's interesting is how Alex approaches Jamie. He doesn't just barge in and demand to know if Jamie's seen the report.
Right, he's got manners.
Exactly. He says, "Did you get a chance to look over the report?"
Oh, I see. It's like he's acknowledging that Jamie has other things going on, and he's approaching him with respect.
Precisely. And then Jamie's response is also interesting. He says, "The report looks great, but I think we might need to add more details to the financial summary."
Okay, so he starts with something positive before mentioning what needs improvement. Isn't that the classic feedback sandwich? I've heard about that technique.
You got it. The feedback sandwich.
Yeah.
But does it actually work? Doesn't it feel a bit, manipulative?
Well, it depends on how it's done, I think. The key is to be genuine with both the positive and the constructive feedback.
Right. It's not about sugarcoating. It's about being honest, but in a way that's helpful and encouraging.
Exactly. And in this case, I think Jamie does a good job of striking that balance. He acknowledges the strengths of the report before gently suggesting an area for improvement.
I see your point. It's like he's saying, "Hey, you did a great job overall, but here's a little something we can tweak to make it even better."
Exactly. And notice how Jamie ends the conversation by saying, "Let me know if you need any help."
Oh, that's a good one.
It's subtle, but it shows that he's willing to collaborate and support his colleague.
So it's not just about giving feedback. It's about offering help and being a team player.
Exactly. Okay, so we've got respect for time, the feedback sandwich, and proactive support. Anything else stand out to you in this quick exchange?
Let me think. Oh, what about the tone? Both Alex and Jamie are super polite and positive, even though they're talking about something that could potentially be a bit stressful, like a report that needs revision.
You're right. They're maintaining a friendly and professional demeanor throughout the interaction.
Which is so important in any workplace setting, right? Nobody wants to work with someone who's constantly negative or confrontational.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've cracked the code on a few key phrases for those quick office interactions. But what about those times when you're meeting someone for the first time, like at a networking event?
Ugh. Networking events, those can be so awkward, I never know what to say.
I hear you. A lot of people find them intimidating, but they can be such valuable opportunities to make connections and learn from others.
Okay, so walk me through it. What do Chris and Taylor, the folks in the podcast example, do that's so effective?
Well, they start with the usual pleasantries like, "It's great to meet you," and "How long have you been with?"
Yeah, but isn't that all a bit superficial? Does it really lead to anything meaningful?
You're right. Those phrases are pretty standard, but think of them as the key that unlocks the door to a deeper conversation.
Oh, I see what you mean. It's like a social lubricant that gets the conversation flowing. But then what? How do they move beyond those initial pleasantries?
Well, in the example, Chris asks Taylor, "So what kind of projects are you working on these days?"
Okay, that's a good one. It's open-ended and invites Taylor to share something about their work.
Exactly. And it gives Chris a chance to listen actively and look for common ground or areas of shared interest.
It's like they're searching for those little sparks of connection that could lead to something more.
Precisely. And once they've established some rapport, they smoothly transition into talking about their current projects, looking for potential collaborations.
So they're not just exchanging business cards and moving on. They're actually trying to find genuine connections and opportunities. But how do they wrap up the conversation without it feeling awkward?
That's where having a clear call to action is crucial. In the example, Chris says, "Hey, maybe we can collaborate on something in the future. I'd love to hear more about your work."
Okay, so he's expressing interest and suggesting a next step.
Exactly. And then Taylor responds with, "I'd love that. Here's my card."
Here's my card. I love how direct and confident that sounds.
It is, right? No fumbling for phones or awkwardly trying to connect on LinkedIn right then and there. Just a clear exchange that opens the door for future possibilities.
This is good stuff. I'm feeling more prepared to tackle those networking events already.
Me too. It's all about those subtle cues and phrases that can make all the difference.
But what about when you're in a more formal setting, like a team meeting? What kind of phrases can help you stand out and make a positive impression?
Ah, team meetings. The land of potential awkward silences and communication breakdowns.
Oh, tell me about it. I've been in those meetings where it feels like everyone's just waiting for someone else to speak.
It can be tough to navigate those dynamics, but the podcast example gives us some good insights. They introduce a team lead and a team member.
Okay, so let's break down their interaction. What does the team lead do that's so effective?
Well, right from the start, they take charge and set a clear structure for the meeting.
Okay, so they're establishing a sense of order and purpose, no time wasted, everyone knows what to expect.
Exactly. And they use clear and concise language to guide the conversation. For example, they say, Erica, could you update us on the client feedback?
Okay, so they're being direct, but also polite and respectful.
Precisely. And notice how Erica, the team member, responds. She provides a concise and informative update outlining the key points and next steps.
So she's demonstrating her competence and her proactive approach.
Exactly. And she also asks a clarifying question. Do we have a deadline for the revised designs?
Oh, that's interesting. I've been too scared to ask that. I wouldn't want to seem like I was questioning the team lead's authority.
It's a good point. But asking clarifying questions demonstrates engagement and a desire to ensure everyone is on the same page.
So it's not about being a passive follower, it's about being an active participant in the conversation.
Exactly. And it shows that you're paying attention and that you care about the project's success.
Okay, so we've got clear and concise language, proactive updates, and asking clarifying questions. Anything else?
I think it's also worth noting that the team lead uses inclusive language like we and us to foster a sense of teamwork and collaboration.
Oh, that's a good point. It's like they're saying, we're all in this together, which can create a more positive and productive work environment.
Exactly. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. From quick office chats to networking events to team meetings, we've seen how crucial tone and phrasing can be in different workplace scenarios. But what happens when the stakes are higher? Like in a negotiation or when delivering a presentation?
Yeah, those situations definitely bring the pressure. I'd love to know how to handle those more effectively.
Me too. And that's exactly what we'll be exploring in the next part of our deep dive.
Awesome. Can't wait to uncover some more communication secrets.
Me neither. This is getting good. All right, welcome back. Still feeling pumped about cracking those communication codes?
Oh, yeah, totally. I'm ready to level up my communication game. What's next on our agenda?
Well, we talked about those everyday office interactions, but now let's tackle those high-stakes communication moments you mentioned earlier. You know, the ones that make your heart race a little bit, like negotiations or giving a big presentation.
Oh, man, those are the worst.
Uh,
My palms are already getting sweaty just thinking about it. Any tips for surviving those pressure cooker situations?
Absolutely. And one technique that can be incredibly helpful is called, wait for it, framing.
Framing.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Sounds kind of like we're building something. Lay it on me.
Basically, it's all about consciously choosing the language and perspective you use to present information. Like, let's say you're in a salary negotiation.
Ugh, the dreaded salary negotiation.
Wow.
Always so awkward.
It doesn't have to be. With framing, you can totally shift the dynamic. Instead of focusing on what you want, try framing the conversation in terms of the value you bring to the company.
Okay, so instead of saying, I want a raise, I should be saying,
You could say something like, I'm confident that my skills and experience in project management, for example, will significantly contribute to the team's success and help us achieve those ambitious goals we've set for the next quarter.
whoa, that's good. It's like you're not just demanding more money, you're positioning yourself as a valuable asset.
Exactly. You're highlighting the benefits for the company, not just for yourself.
It's like you're speaking their language, the language of value and results.
Yeah.
Smart. Okay, so framing is all about setting the right context. Any other secret weapons we can add to our arsenal?
Absolutely. Another powerful tool is called mirroring.
Mirroring, like looking in a mirror. Okay, now I'm really lost.
No, not literally looking in a mirror. It's more about subtly reflecting the body language, tone of voice, and communication style of the person you're interacting with.
Interesting. So if someone is speaking really softly and slowly, I should like whisper back to them,
Well, not exactly whisper, but yeah, you might adjust your tone and pace to match theirs. And if they're using a lot of hand gestures, you might subtly mirror some of those movements as well.
I see. But wouldn't come across as, I don't know, fake or creepy, like I'm mocking them?
The key is to be subtle and authentic. It's not about mimicking their every move, it's about finding a natural way to create a sense of harmony and alignment. Think of it as a way of saying, I'm listening to you, I understand you, and I'm on the same wavelength.
I see what you mean. It's like you're building a bridge of understanding through shared nonverbal cues.
Mm.
This is getting deep. Okay, so we've got framing to set the context and mirroring to build rapport. But what about those times when we need to, stand up for ourselves or our ideas? How can we do that without coming across as aggressive or disrespectful?
That's a great question, and it brings us to the concept of power dynamics in communication.
Power dynamics. Sounds a bit intimidating.
It can be. It's basically the unspoken hierarchy that exists in almost every interaction, and it can significantly influence how our messages are perceived.
Okay, so you're saying that who we are in relation to the other person, like our job title or level of experience, can affect how our communication lands.
Exactly. For example, if you're a junior team member presenting an idea to a senior executive, you might need to be more mindful of your tone and phrasing than if you were brainstorming with your peers.
Right, you don't want to come across as disrespectful or like we're trying to undermine their authority. But how do you strike that balance between being assertive and being respectful, especially when you're dealing with someone who has more power?
It's all about being strategic and intentional with your communication. Start by clearly stating your idea or perspective, using confident body language, and maintaining eye contact.
Okay, so project confidence, even if you're feeling a bit intimidated. Got it. But what if they try to shut you down or dismiss your idea?
That's where it's crucial to stay calm, composed, and focused on your message. Acknowledge their perspective without getting defensive.
So don't take it personally.
Hmm.
Easier said than done sometimes.
I know, it's tough. But you could say something like, I understand your concerns and I appreciate your feedback. However, I believe this approach has the potential to. And then you explain the benefits or positive outcomes.
Oh, I like that. It's like you're saying, I hear you, but I still think this is a good idea, and here's why.
Exactly. It's about finding that sweet spot between assertiveness and respect. You want to convey your message clearly and confidently, but you also want to maintain a positive and collaborative tone.
This is all so insightful. I'm starting to see communication in a whole new light. It's like a delicate dance between power dynamics, intention, and empathy.
I love that analogy, a delicate dance. And just like with dancing, communication takes practice. But the more you practice, the more confident and skillful you'll become.
Okay, I'm ready to hit the dance floor. What other communication moves do we need to master?
Well, I think it's important to remember that effective communication isn't just about what we say, it's also about what we don't say.
What do you mean by that? Like, should I just start using telepathy?
Haha, not quite. I'm talking about the power of nonverbal communication. Our facial expressions, gestures, posture, tone of voice, all those subtle cues that can speak volumes.
Oh, absolutely. I've definitely been in situations where someone's body language was screaming one thing, but their words were saying something totally different.
Exactly. And that's why it's so crucial to be mindful of our own nonverbal cues and to pay attention to those of others. It's about reading between the lines and interpreting those unspoken messages.
Okay, but how do we become more aware of our own nonverbal communication? It's not like we can watch ourselves talk all the time.
It starts with self-awareness. Pay attention to how you typically stand, sit, gesture, make eye contact. What kind of facial expressions do you make when you're listening, speaking, or thinking?
Maybe I should start practicing in front of a mirror. Or maybe record myself giving a presentation and see how I come across.
Those are great ideas. And once you have a better understanding of your own nonverbal habits, you can start to work on aligning them with your communication goals.
So for example, if I want to project confidence, I might stand up straight, make eye contact, and use open hand gestures.
Exactly. And if you want to convey empathy and active listening, you might lean in slightly, nod your head, and maintain a relaxed and open posture.
This is blowing my mind. It's like there's this whole secret language we're all speaking without even realizing it.
It's true. And just like with spoken language, nonverbal communication can vary across cultures.
Oh, that's right. Like, I've heard that direct eye contact can be seen as rude in some cultures, but in others it's a sign of respect.
Exactly. So it's always important to be mindful of cultural differences and to do some research if you're interacting with people from different backgrounds.
It's like communication is not just about mastering a set of skills. It's about being adaptable and respectful and open to learning from others.
Beautifully said. Okay, so we've covered framing, mirroring, power dynamics, and the nuances of nonverbal communication. Phew. I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed, to be honest.
Me too. It's a lot to take in. But it's also super exciting to think about all the ways we can improve our communication skills.
Exactly. And remember, it's a journey, not a destination. We're all constantly learning and evolving as communicators. Speaking of journeys, there's one more important aspect of communication I want to talk about, and that's how to handle those moments when communication goes wrong.
Oh man, those are the worst. Like when you accidentally say the wrong thing or completely misinterpret what someone is saying, it's so awkward.
It happens to all of us. But the good news is that we can learn from those experiences and develop strategies for damage control.
Okay, damage control, I'm all ears. What's the first step?
The most important thing is to acknowledge the miscommunication and take ownership of your role in it.
So instead of blaming the other person or making excuses,
Oh,
we should just own up to our mistakes.
exactly. A simple apology can go a long way in diffusing tension and rebuilding trust. You could say something like, I realize that my words came out wrong. I apologize if I offended you. That wasn't my intention.
Okay, so apologize sincerely. Got it. What's next?
Once you've acknowledged the miscommunication, take the time to clarify your intentions and explain your perspective. Use I statements to focus on your feelings and needs rather than blaming or judging the other person.
So instead of saying, you made me feel this way, I should say, I felt this way when.
Exactly. By sharing your inner world, you create a space for empathy and understanding. It's not about attacking the other person, it's about expressing your own experience.
That makes so much sense. It's like communication is not about winning or losing an argument. It's about finding common ground and building understanding.
I love that. You're getting it. And sometimes, even after we've apologized and clarified our intentions, there might still be some lingering hurt or resentment, and that's okay.
Yeah, sometimes it takes time to process those feelings and move on.
Exactly, and that's where forgiveness comes in.
Forgiveness. Isn't that a bit, touchy-feely for the workplace?
Not at all. Forgiveness is a powerful tool for healing and restoring relationships. It's not about condoning bad behavior, it's about releasing those negative emotions that are holding us back.
I never thought about it that way. So you're saying that forgiveness is not just a personal thing, it's actually a communication skill.
Absolutely. It's a way of saying, I'm willing to let go of the past and move forward in a positive direction. And that can be incredibly liberating for both parties involved.
Okay, I'm starting to see the light. So we've got acknowledging miscommunications, clarifying intentions, and the power of forgiveness. Any other damage control strategies we should know about?
Well, sometimes it can be helpful to bring in a neutral third party to facilitate the conversation. This could be a trusted colleague, a mentor, or even a professional mediator.
Oh, that's a good idea. A neutral third party could help de-escalate the situation and provide an objective perspective.
Exactly. And they can also help facilitate a constructive dialogue that leads to a mutually agreeable solution.
This is all so helpful. I'm feeling much more prepared to handle those inevitable communication hiccups now. But what about those people who are just, well, difficult to communicate with no matter what you do? Those folks who just rub you the wrong way.
Ah, yes. The challenging personalities we all encounter from time to time. It's important to remember that we can't control how others communicate, but we can control how we respond.
So it's about focusing on what we can control rather than trying to change the other person.
Exactly. And sometimes that means setting boundaries.
Boundaries, like drawing a line in the sand.
In a way, yes. It's about protecting your own energy and well-being. You have the right to say no to conversations that are draining or disrespectful.
Okay, but how do you set boundaries without coming across as rude or dismissive?
It's all about being clear, assertive, and respectful. You could say something like, I appreciate your perspective, but I'm not comfortable discussing this topic right now. Or, I need some time to process this information before we continue this conversation.
Ooh, those are good. I'm definitely going to practice those.
I encourage you to. Setting boundaries is an important part of self-care, and it's essential for effective communication.
This is so empowering. I'm realizing that effective communication is not just about getting our message across. It's also about protecting our own well-being and creating healthy communication patterns.
Beautifully said. And it's something we can all strive for, both in our professional and personal lives. Okay, we've covered a lot of ground today. From framing and mirroring to storytelling, nonverbal cues, damage control, and setting boundaries. What are some key takeaways you think our listeners should keep in mind? I think the most important thing is to remember that effective communication is not about perfection, it's about progress.
Right. We're all human and we're all going to make mistakes.
Exactly. And that's okay. The key is to be kind to ourselves, learn from our experiences, and keep practicing.
It's about embracing those moments of awkwardness and using them as opportunities to grow.
And it's about remembering that communication is a two-way street. It's not just about what we say or do. It's also about listening attentively, observing carefully, and being willing to adjust our approach based on the feedback we receive.
It's like a dance, right? We have to be in tune with our partner and respond to their cues.
Exactly. And the more we practice, the more graceful and skillful we'll become. Wow, time flies when you're having fun, right? I feel like we could talk about communication all day.
I know, right? It's such a fascinating topic. But I'm thinking, we've covered a lot of ground, from power dynamics to damage control. But are there any, frameworks or techniques we can use to really nail those everyday workplace scenarios? Like the morning office chat, the networking event, the team meeting. We talked about those, but I could use a refresher.
Absolutely. One framework I find super helpful is the STAR method. It's often used in behavioral interviews, those tell me about a time when questions, but it can actually be a game changer for everyday communication as well.
STAR. Okay,
Yeah.
you've got my attention. Break it down for me. What does STAR stand for?
So STAR stands for situation, task, action, and result. It's basically a way to structure your communication so that it's clear, concise, and impactful.
Okay, I'm following so far. Give me an example. How would I use this in, say, a team meeting?
Perfect example. Let's say you're asked to give an update on a project. Instead of rambling or getting flustered, you can use the STAR method to stay on track.
Okay, I'm feeling a little less flustered already, so how would I start?
First, you describe the situation, the context or background of the project. Keep it brief and to the point.
Got it. So I might say something like, we're currently working on the new marketing campaign for the fall product launch.
Perfect. Then you move on to the task, your specific role or responsibility within the project.
Okay, so I could say, I'm leading the social media strategy for the campaign.
Exactly. Next comes the action, the steps you took to complete the task. This is where you get to shine.
Ooh, time to brag a little.
Haha, not brag exactly. But this is where you highlight your accomplishments and showcase your skills.
Okay, so I might say, I've been working with the design team to create engaging visuals, and I've also been researching the best platforms and times to reach our target audience.
Perfect. You're painting a clear picture of your process. And finally, you wrap it up with the result, the outcome of your efforts.
So I could say something like, we've seen a significant increase in engagement on our social media channels, and we're on track to exceed our reach goals for the campaign.
Brilliant. See? You just nailed a concise, compelling, and results-oriented update using the STAR method. And the best part is, you can apply this to so many situations, from giving presentations to even those tricky job interview questions.
Wow, I'm definitely going to try this. It's like a magic formula for communication. Are there any other magic formulas you want to share?
Well, maybe not a magic formula, but there's another approach I really like called nonviolent communication.
Nonviolent communication. Sounds intense.
It's not about being passive or avoiding conflict. It's actually a very powerful way to communicate with empathy, compassion, and understanding, even in difficult situations.
Okay, I'm intrigued. How does it work?
The core principle is to focus on our needs and feelings rather than judgments or blame.
So instead of saying, you're always late, you don't respect my time, I should say,
You could try something like, I feel anxious when meetings start late because it throws off my schedule for the rest of the day. I need us to start on time so I can manage my workload effectively.
wow, that's a completely different way of framing it.
Wow.
Instead of attacking the person, you're focusing on your own experience and what you need.
Exactly. And by doing that, you create space for understanding and collaboration.
I love that. It's like you're taking the conflict out of the communication.
In a way, yes. And it also encourages us to listen empathetically to the needs and feelings of others, even if we disagree with them.
So it's about finding that common ground, even in challenging situations.
Exactly. It's a beautiful way to approach communication, don't you think?
Absolutely. I'm starting to see communication in a whole new light. It's not just about getting our point across. It's about connecting with others on a deeper level. But I have to admit, even with all these amazing tools and techniques, I still get nervous sometimes, like, what if I mess up? What if I say the wrong thing?
It's okay to feel nervous. It means you care. And remember, communication is a journey. There will be times when we stumble or misspeak. It happens to all of us.
That's reassuring to hear.
The key is to be kind to ourselves, learn from those experiences, and keep practicing.
So it's not about perfection, it's about progress.
I love that.
And remember, you are a powerful communicator. You have the ability to connect with others, inspire action, and make a positive impact on the world. So go out there and communicate with confidence, clarity, and compassion.
That's inspiring. Thanks for sharing all these amazing insights with us today. I feel like I've learned so much.
It's been my pleasure. And everyone listening, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the art of effective communication.
We hope you've enjoyed the journey as much as we have. And remember, every conversation is an opportunity to learn, grow, and connect. So keep those conversations flowing, those connections growing, and those stories unfolding. Until next time.